4 years ago, I landed a congressional internship in Washington, D.C., in Capitol Hill, and this was the timeline that I followed from the time I got the offer of the internship to then land $12,000, securing $12,000 worth of funds to secure my internship, but also afford it and go to D.C. If you're watching me for the first time, my name is Brian, and before I get into the video, I want to share that DC internships are very much attainable for first gen students. And I want this video to showcase to you the unfiltered story of what got me to be able to not only land the internship in DC, but secure the funds to actually afford it, which tends to be the biggest pain point for minority students like you. You're probably commuting to and from school. You're not living close to the DMV area in the United States, but you're commuting to your local university. You have a high GPA, you have the grades, but your biggest hesitation in applying is not that you're a competitive candidate, it's that you haven't secured the funds yet. But I'm here to show you how I got an internship offer in May of 2021. I started my internship in August of 2021, the fall semester, and I was able to secure the funds throughout the remaining months that I was working to be able to go and afford to live in DC. All without having a cent of student debt and without taking out any loans and without having to work a job throughout this timeline. These were all scholarships and financial resources that I tapped into in order to be able to secure my internship. So so the very first thing that happened is in May 2021, I secured the internship. If you're looking for more information on how to secure internships, then watch till the end of the video, but I'll leave a link as to what you can look at next as to how you can actually secure the internship. But it's important to know that I landed the internship offer. So I'll write it down here. I landed the paid internship offer. And this is very important because this was the beginning of funding my internship. It's crazy how a lot of people are so hesitant to actually go ahead and apply to these internships when the vast majority are actually paid. When it comes to Capitol Hill internships working for a specific congressman, the U.S. House of Representatives actually passed a bill a couple years ago where they're actually paying their interns. They get a budget allotted towards their interns, specifically in D.C. So if you're an intern, you have the opportunity to get a stipend, and there are opportunities for you to be able to get those funds while you're in DC. Oftentimes, these paid internships, though, they are limited, and you do want to make sure that you understand that they are not the full amount of funds that are going to be allotted towards you. Now, before I tell you the amount that I was able to secure through the paid internship itself, how much they paid me, full transparency after tax, I want to make sure you know that none of this is intended to be financial advice. This is strictly educational content and my own experiences as to how I was able to fund my DC internship. At the end of the day, it is these all these different experiences can vary depending on person to person. So I just want to make sure you know that before we enter the rest of the video. But now sharing more and educating you on my experience. When I landed this internship offer, it pretty much secured me right off the bat, assuming I actually accepted the internship offer, $5,400. So I landed an internship in the fall semester, which tends to be more months, and I worked from August to December, and the intended goal was to pay me that amount. Now, I didn't really know full transparency as to how the amount was going to be, but after tax, that's how much that I was being paid every single month in DC. That's the total amount that I got paid for the internship because it was split between monthly payments. Every congressional offices does it differently. Sometimes they give it to you right off the bat. Sometimes they give it to you right when you start the internship. Sometimes they give it to you month to month. For me, this was a total amount that I got throughout the duration of my internship. So it wasn't an amount that I secured right then and there. It entered my bank account. That was not necessarily the case. But at the very least, landing the acceptance letter secured me almost half the funds that I utilized to be able to afford DC. And Honestly, $12,000 was pretty ambitious at the time because with $12,000, I actually was able to visit my parents for Thanksgiving, go back to Miami. I'm originally from Miami, so I was able to take a lot of airplane tickets, a lot of go back and forth. My sister was getting married at the time. I was part of the bachelor party to be able to go to West Palm Beach and have a bachelor weekend and pay all those expenses utilizing the funds that I allotted throughout this time. So it doesn't mean you have to secure $12,000, and of course, inflation, depending on how this was in 2021, how inflation is changing in Washington, D.C., perhaps this number can continually fluctuate. You have to talk to your financial advisor, talk to your people that you make financial decisions with. This is strictly educational, but at the very least, for the most part, from what I'm considering, is that with full transparency, this amount plus or minus is really half of the battle. Really, it's really half the battle. And so that to me was very encouraging because you don't just have an empty acceptance letter. You have something that you know once you get to DC, you're going to be paid. And whether that's a stipend, whether it's a monthly payment, you secure that. You speak about that with the congressional office that you're applying to. Nonetheless, the second month that after I got this acceptance letter was very important. Throughout this time, as I applied to the paid internship offer, and I was able to land the internship offer, I was able to afford to be able to go to DC. This was actually the beginning of it. The very next month was very important because the very next month was when I applied to this other scholarship that my university was offering called the Hamilton Scholarship. And the reason why this is very important is because this specific experience was able to help me to be able to go to DC and do an advocacy project. But above that was actually my university providing me an internship scholarship. So it's specific to me going to DC scholarship that was my university was just offering for anyone going to DC. So you did have to apply for it, and there were only 12 people selected in my university at the time, or I think 9 people. I don't remember. But this in total was 12. Well, 1,200, $1,200. Right. So this was very important because for me, this was another boost of energy. And I think at the end of the day, no matter the scholarship offer, no matter how much you earn, at the end of the day, it's more money in your pocket. I'm not doing Uber at this time. I'm not working part time. I don't have a job. I'm really relying only on what my internship is going to pay me for when I get to DC, but then the funds that I'm allotting throughout the time that I'm getting to DC to be able to afford to move there for a month, for 4 months in this case, and be able to secure that internship, right? So in this case, it was $1,200, and that was very beneficial for me because then I knew that this was going towards roughly around half the amount that was going towards my internship. So I pretty much knew in this time $5,500 that was going to cover housing. $1,200 I was going to cover food, right? So pretty much it's really just getting to DC, living comfortably. Obviously there's different expenses, maybe textbooks and all that time. And now obviously everyone has a different coursework, everyone has different scholarships, financial aid. So at the end of the day, you kind of figure that out in your throughout the durations of your semester. But in this case, $1,200 was going to be very beneficial for me. All right. So July was also a very key month, and the reason I didn't put a dollar sign here is because I didn't necessarily earn money this month, but it was a key month because I applied to the Cafe Bustelo scholarship. So in this time, I'm looking for scholarships. I'm looking for ways that I'm able to short circuit getting a certain amount of money. And just think about it. I really think about it as a student, right? You are paying to go to college. You're doing all this work to get a high GPA. And there are a lot of people that do not earn $5,000 in a month. There are not people that do not earn $1,200 in a month. And you can do that in just one application. In just a single application, you can earn what some people earn in a week of pay, what some people earn in 2 or 3 weeks, maybe months of pay. You can do it sitting down and committing to one application. In this case, it was like a scholarship, it was like a recommendation. So it took a little bit of steps, but because I was qualified, I earned $1,200. I mean, the ROI, return of investment, of applying to scholarships is a no brainer. And when I would have spent time doing Uber, doing Instacart, all these different jobs, or even getting a part time job at Zara or at Express, all of that was accumulated throughout this time. So although I didn't necessarily land this scholarship yet, In this month, I was able to find out that there was a scholarship that offered $5,000. Yes, you hear me correct. $5,000. And so you are aware, not financial advice, but there is a Café Solo scholarship that you can still apply for. If you're Hispanic, you go to a Hispanic serving institution, meaning a university that that has a 25% plus Hispanic student population, you should definitely apply for the scholarship. And the good thing about all these experiences is that you can leverage your acceptance letter, right? You haven't secured being going to DC, but you can leverage the fact that you have an acceptance letter to go to DC to make yourself competitive for these scholarships. And that's why I tell students, do not hesitate to apply, because you never know how you're able to fund your internship after getting that acceptance level. And this marker is not wanting to cooperate with me. But nonetheless, at the end of the day, you really have to realize that there's so much money left on the table for students like you. And it's a cherry on top when a scholarship finds out that you're somebody that wants to go to DC, you're a minority student, and their scholarship can help you get to DC and make the impact you want to make, because you're a politician in the making, you're a policymaker in the making, you want to end up in DC for your career. Why not start now? Why not make the connections now? It's even easier when you're an intern, because then you're able to skyrocket your chances of actually landing an offer once you graduate. So, nonetheless, I applied to this internship, and the foreshadowing is that, of course, I actually ended up landing that internship, but it didn't happen until August. So that's why I put a little estimate sign. I didn't necessarily earn the money in July. But all I had to do was qualify for the scholarship, which I think was like a certain GPA and a couple things. And then I had to just write a letter. I had to write a little bit of an essay and answer a couple questions, and that's it. I wrote the essay, I think it was July 4th or July 6th of that year. It was like around that July 4th holiday. I took the time, I sit down, I wrote that essay. I didn't have anyone review it. I just sent it in. And I utilized a little bit of the cover letter that I had written down for the internship offer. So I had obviously already gotten some help for my application for the congressional internship. Nonetheless, this really did help me out, and this really did benefit me in the long run, and to be able to secure this scholarship. The only difference is that when I actually was able to secure the funds was like around August. So August was a very key month because it was when everything got accumulated, right? I'm not gonna lie, I did not get all these funds until getting into DC that semester. But once you secure those funds, then you find a way. Everyone has an uncle, everyone has an aunt, everyone has a parent. And I understand everyone's financial situations are different. Even if you not financial advice, I won't say that specifically, but you can do what you have to do to secure some funds to be able to pay for housing, to get everything done. And then once you actually get to DC, all these scholarship money, all these things that you've accumulated will enter into your bank account. You can pay back who you need to pay back, or you could just, you find ways. You find ways. But for me specifically, that was my mom. So my mom was able to help me with the housing, but I did have to pay her back. I'm Hispanic myself, and my mom does not have all the money in the world, and so I was going to pay her back for the assistance she gave for me to be able to afford the housing in DC, because you do have to pay that before actually going to DC. So logistically speaking, not all of this is clear cut. It's not specific, it's not perfect, and that's why I want to make sure to emphasize this is all educational and specific to my experience, because at the end of the day, it is very important for you to understand that every situation is different. You may have privileges that other people don't, or you may not have the privileges that other people do. But there are ways to secure the fund, even if it is that you obtain them all in August. Once you're already in DC, whether August, you start in winter, you start in the summertime, and even in the summertime, you don't have to actually make that much more money, because actually you're just going to be there for like 2.5 months, right? I was going to be there for 4.5 months, so that was going to be a little bit of a different story. So I was able to secure $5,000 in scholarships, split between the fall semester of that year that I was going to intern in DC, and then split between the next semester, right? But honestly, I did not need the full $5,000 at that moment, and even if I needed to, I probably could have compelled them to give it to me all in one payment, and maybe that could have been the case, because at the end of the day, you could always negotiate with these scholarships. They want you to succeed, and if you really need it for DC, this scholarship alone could have just covered everything. And maybe I would have been a little more tight going to my sister's wedding and having these different like airplane tickets to go to Thanksgiving and everything. But at the very least, all this would have been covered. Right? Now, another unspoken scholarship, which is not always a scholarship, but I did have a full ride to my university, which was a Bright Future Scholarship in Florida. I went to Florida International University, but I had also grants from the government, and most of the people watching, you're a commuter student, your parents don't earn the most money, you're the child of an immigrant, and there are a lot of things that just not in your favor. At the very least, in the U.S., there is some generous financial aid for students like us, and I was happy to be awarded a refund every single time I was a full-time student for the university, which is pretty much every semester I was there. So I also had a refund check that was 2000 around $2,400, right? So that was my refund. I'm gonna put here refund. So accumulated in total between the 2,000, 5,000, 1,200, 5,400. You do the math, split this in two, it's actually 2.5 thousand. Whatever I earned to get into DC, it was roughly around $11,800 or close to $12,000 for me to be able to afford my internship. Housing was roughly $5,000, $6,000 for the semester. It has gone up in price as the years have gone by. It's maybe 7,000 now. But at the end of the day, these were the kind of internships that I was able to get, the kind of scholarships I was able to get to secure my internship in DC. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about being able to go to DC and have the opportunity to, but rather to actually afford and go there. So I wanted to make an unfiltered video to showcase a step-by-step guide as to how I was able to get to the $12,000 mark. Now, if you're a student that's looking to get a little bit more of an idea as to how this can work for you, it would be very beneficial for you to watch some videos of mine that showcase to you how you can actually land the internship to begin with, because that is invaluable in and of itself. As you can see, out of all these payments, the most valuable for me was actually landing the internship offer. That was the one that offered me the most money off the bat. That's going to be the highest return of investment. And then all these micro opportunities were just me being able to showcase that I already got accepted to an internship. I'm already qualified. So you guys are leaving on the table this kind of scholarship, this kind of paid internship offer. My apologies. And then you're leaving on the table, once you actually land this paid internship offer, all these scholarships on the table that you can land by just being competitive enough and showing off your edge that you're a possible DC intern. And scholarships are going to eat that up. When I was like a federal civil scholar, when they posted me on their website, I was one of 25 students that got the scholarship. They did not put me that I was someone from Miami. They put me that I was someone from Washington, D.C. So I just thought it was so funny for my parents to see that when they actually landed the internship offer, the scholarship offer, I was considered somebody to be a resident of DC, not of Miami, Florida, or someone from DC. So it definitely changed up and doubled up my status to be able to land the internship. I don't know if I would have been as competitive. We're always going to be competitive students, so all these are up for grabs. But the acceptance offer is going to land you so much more of these micro experiences. And that's just because I applied to these two experiences. These are the only two scholarships I applied to, and I easily got them. So once you get this, your ego goes up, your confidence goes up, and appreciate that and use it. Use it to your benefit, because then it can get you the other half to be able to then go to DC and get it fully funded and fully rewarded. So if you're looking to work with me, or if you're looking to get more information, I would be happy to work with you. I've been working with a lot of students and give you any advice and any assistance that's necessary. You can connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll reach out to you with any more information, right? So otherwise, you can just enjoy more of the free content and just stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.